right, today I lost about $72, and right off the bat, looking at what happened, I'm not super happy with my executions and my bias today. I missed some blatant things, but I had one good trade right away in the morning, and then some losses, and then this $360 loss was not super necessary, but I had a hard time stepping away after a bigger loss. And then I sat and waited, and I was able to, I don't even know what that is, like 600 some dollars, and get back to pretty close to break even. Um, so looking at this here are the executions, but coming into the day, I was bearish, and that was not the bias very clearly. But looking at it, we inverse this daily, but we got two doji candles and we're just kind of hanging around in here. We had this 4 hour for value gap pushing us down. Um, this little 4 hour almost doesn't even matter, but this bearish 4 hour was what I was expecting us to be held down by. Um, and also on the 4 hour, we're in a big giant bearish breaker. And there's a fair value gap up here that we tapped and respected. So there were a lot of signs pointing me to bearish, a lot of higher time frame signs at least. And I had not considered that price had already kind of done what it wanted to and tapped this fair value gap we had inversed the daily. And the big thing is consequent encroachment of this wick. If we look at equilibrium of this wick, consequent encroachment, look at these candle bodies. They never closed below. That is about as perfect as it gets in price delivery. And that was something I had neglected to see, which would have definitely changed my bias. We're being supported by this 4 hour order block, this group of order blocks, as well as consequent encroachment of this wick. Plenty of signs to move higher. And with that short bias coming into the day, here are my executions. Look on the 1 minute. So I had come in to the morning wanting shorts, and I had noticed that we had started to kind of make a three drive pattern. Um, 1, 2, 3 up to the high, which isn't something I use, but just a little extra confluence. And price up, down, and then we do end up getting a breakdown in structure and a market structure shift. And I take price down to this low for first partial, and then the next subsequent low for a second partial, um, and then I get stopped back at break even there. So that is it for that first short. That one was profitable. And then the second one, I ended up getting stopped for a loss. I wanted a continuation, just as I had figured we were short biased. I wanted this 5 minute fair value gap to be respected and us to continue down to these lows, but the thing that I failed to see and check for was if we look at ES and YM for the same time, that sell side down there had been taken by both of them, um, leaving NQ with a bullish SMT. So if we look at that low, here is that low, and NQ is not even close to it. Um, so in hindsight, with respecting the CE of 4 hour wick and continuing to move up, but also want to point out the 15 minute. This is what the 15 minute looked like in the morning. This is already very bullish, but I was expecting it to be trumped by the higher time frame narrative, which it was not in this case. But we break up here, have a market structure shift, and we're building, and see we respect this 15-minute breaker as well as this fair value gap the entire time. So after that, then I finally was thinking, hey, this probably is not bearish anymore. So I did start to look for longs, and this is still neglecting the SMT. I had still not checked and had not seen that. But let's take a look in here for executions. So I had executions in here and in here with 5 contracts. Writing it up, took a partial at this eye, as well as, let's see where that is. Well, there must have been, well, these are all old executions. So there must have been another high. Yes, this high. And then I was also targeting these next subsequent highs. So that ended up panning out to be a really nice buy model. A lot of confluences, bouncing off 4 out of the CE, 15 minutes bullish, SMT. That was all there for a perfect long setup. Just mad I didn't check for the SMT sooner. But even looking at NQ, that big loss was right in here. I had just taken that big loss and wanted to take long, so I came in here and I longed right on this candle, stopped below this order block, aiming for this high. Price game stopped me out and then went there. So red idea, just not good timing. But that ended up playing out nicely. And I do want to point out on the 15-minute standard deviation from high to low. Where did we bounce out of? We stayed under the 2 to 2.5, which is where it'll be likely to reverse, or at the 4. So standard deviation today worked out great. A lot of confluences for both directions. A lot of high time frame confluences for shorts and some lower time frame confluences for longs. But overall, not super happy with the performance of today, but I'm glad I could turn it around and get back to pretty much break even by the end of the day and recognize that I was probably doing something wrong. But this is definitely one of the days where I wish I had somebody to do a bias check with. But otherwise, that's all I got today. Have a good trading day tomorrow.